right. Cross our fingers that everything went well. Hello everyone, my name is Dimitri.
And I'm Amanda.
We're from Tokyo Tech Startups and Energy Tech Meetup. This is our first live stream that we are attempting now from Osaki in Tokyo, Japan. I believe we have a lot of viewers from all across the world, so thank you very much for tuning in. Please let us know if the people in Zoom at least can hear us. Can everybody hear us?
Give us a thumbs up. Okay, I see one thumbs up.
I hope they didn't thumb up because you thumbed up.
Oh.
Okay. But all right.
Okay.
Oh, loud and clear. Okay, thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the community of people that are actually tuning in and kind of helping us get this going. So this is supposed to be live streamed on Facebook as well as YouTube. We're trying something that it's out of our comfort zone, but let's keep this going. So thanks very much for joining. Today's theme is energy. So renewable energy. It used to be mobility as well, but we decided to focus specifically on energy startups and energy companies as well as energy VCs. So the agenda for today, and I'll be kind of switching back and forth between scenes here. As you can see, the schedule here for today is we will be doing an opening introduction followed by a VC panel where you will hear from experts about different trends that are happening right now in the energy sector and what people are investing in at this moment. Then we will switch gears and have Challenergy, one of the successful startups, talk about their growth and how they became to where they are right now. And then finally we have startup pitches, 4 of them, for which you can basically ask them any questions. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, we will pick up those questions. Our other members are there looking at them, and they will forward them to us so that we can ask the questions as well. VCs obviously are going to ask their questions. And finally, we're going into networking. This is also a first-time thing. We have 6 different networking rooms, and hopefully this is going to help somehow replicate the real event and help you make maybe one more connection that you can utilize then. So without further ado, Amanda, would you like to talk a little bit about the Energy Tech Meetup?
Sure, thanks Dimitri. So before we actually jump into the main event, I'm going to share a little bit more about what Energy Tech Meetup is. And Energy Tech Meetup, or ETM, is basically a community for anyone interested in innovation related to energy and technology. And this is a global community, so right now most of us are in Tokyo, but we're also based in Vienna and in Berlin and Zurich. So if you're interested to be an organizer or to partner with us or to be a speaker or to volunteer, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of us as well. And we created ETM because we believe that energy innovation needs diverse fields of expertise and in order to create stronger innovation ecosystems. So what we're trying to do is to get these diverse kinds of people and expertise in one room, from students to startups to corporate professionals, so that we can help support this stronger ecosystem. And we do this in 4 main ways. So one is events and seminars of course, both online and offline, networking, and engagement. So engagement here again is also online and offline. Online we try to share different kinds of news about energy innovation and hear what the community is talking about. And also offline by really talking with our community and understanding what kinds of energy innovation and trends is interesting for communities in each local ETM and globally. And insights. So with insights, I mean we publish something called Voices of ETM or Energy Tech Meetup after each of our kind of main official events, basically with the aim to share in a readable and accessible way the main trends that we are discussing in our community. So here's an example from Digital Innovation times Energy last year, where we discussed things like digital platforms, microgrids, regulation, and innovation ecosystems. Here's a team. So I'm Amanda, I'm the co-founder, and most of us are in Tokyo, but again we have people in Vienna, in Berlin, and in Zurich as well. And of course, please follow us, please reach out to us if you'd like to discuss being a partner, speaker, volunteer, or organizer. You can find us on Facebook, PTX, LinkedIn, YouTube, Medium, basically most of the social media. And yeah, if there's anything, please let us know. Hand it over to Dimitri.
Great, thanks so much, Amanda. So we are presenting this right now and we have no idea how it looks like on YouTube or Facebook, so hoping that this is going well. But to keep things brief, because we want to get into the panel discussion and also to the startups, my name is Dimitri. Some of you may know me from Tokyo Tech Startups. I know that a lot of people are joining from all across the world, but I want to note that there are 3 different metrics that we are particularly focusing on in the Japanese startup community right now that we try to change with our community. One is that there's only 3 unicorns that have been spawned in the past years, and we try to increase the chances of startups being successful with our community here. Our community, Tokyo Tech Startups, is a group of entrepreneurs, engineers, and investors that really try to make it more efficient for startups to get noticed and to be able to pitch their ideas in front of people and connect better, right? Then there is this other problem that only $1.3 billion of funding is being routed into Japanese startup ecosystem as opposed to 20 in China and I believe 70 in Silicon Valley in the United States. So there's like a massive discrepancy there in terms of how much investment is going into startup ecosystems. And finally, there's more than 75% of investments that are going into Tokyo locally itself, and we try to diversify it or try to give startups outside of Tokyo the chance to also grow and get invested. We have quite a solid track record with a lot of pitches having been conducted already, several events. These numbers are from a bit of an older time, so we're much further than this, and thanks to all the members, you guys basically that are turning in, we have basically crossed over 6,000 members. Our mission for startups, and I myself am a startup founder as well, and so are most of the volunteers that are helping us. We understand that it is really hard for startups to get exposure, to find investment, and to find the right talent. And we're trying to address each of these items by hosting pitch events, recruitment events, and startup conventions. Generally, they're free or cheap, so please consider joining us. As said, this is a bit older, but we've crossed 6,000. And finally, this is the team that makes everything happen. So thanks so much to all of them. If you're interested in contributing or joining us, please reach out to us. We are really laid back, and we love to kind of grow this to something very impactful. All right, with all that said, let's get into the panel discussion. And Amanda, you would like to introduce our speakers today.
Yes, thank you. So I'm really excited to introduce the VC panel we have for today. And I'm going to start with Yamaguchi-san. So Hirokazu Yamaguchi is the Managing Director of Energy and Environment Investment, or EEI, which is the only VC firm in Japan focused on the transformation of the energy industry. Prior to EEI, Yamaguchi-san also has over 30 years of experience in the Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, which is the largest power utility in Japan. Then we have James Sprints, who is the Vice President of Strategy at Energy Impact Partners, or EIP, based out of Germany. In this role, James provides strategic insights to EIP's investors on the European energy and clean tech landscape. Prior to joining EIP, James also spent 6 years at Bloomberg New Energy Finance out of New York City. And then we have Hiroyoshi Iwata. Iwata-san is a venture capitalist in Global Brain Japan, in charge of startup investments in the environmental and energy fields. Before this, Iwata-san worked in a plant engineering and construction company with experience in plant constructions in Indonesia, also including business development of renewable energy. And last but not least, we have Shigeto Mizumoto-san. Mizumoto-san is the Chief Strategy Officer at Challenergy, where he leads sales and marketing, PR branding, and government relations. Before joining Challenergy in 2016, he also worked for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, as well as an international consulting firm in the field of power and renewables. So we would like to ask the panelists to unmute themselves, and let's get into the panel discussion.
Right now. Need to
give us one moment
Technical difficulties.
to fix this inception moment on our computer. Oh, wow.
I'm wondering why this is happening.
All right. We're back.
This is us, right?
Yes. It's us too. Cool?
So on Zoom, I think we can continue.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're back in business. So let's jump to the VC panel. And as I said, Dimitri and I are going to start off with a few questions, and then we're going to open up for the audience members. So please, share your questions either in the Zoom chat or on the YouTube or Facebook live streams, and we're going to make sure to get the best questions here.
Stream may be left up on YouTube. Just a quick note, in case the YouTube live stream goes down, as well as the Facebook one, or if people cannot join and see the Zoom participants, there is a Zoom link underneath, so please consider joining us. We're at 84 participants, so there are another 16 rooms available for you. Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to ask the investors our first question, which is what kind of trends do you see in the energy sector right now? And we would start off with anybody that would like to answer this question. So please go ahead. Are we getting audio feed?
James is talking, but I don't hear him. 1 second.
James is talking.
1 second.
Larry, can you hear James?
James can be heard, but we can't hear him.
Okay. Okay, great.
Oh, there you
Moderator.
go.
Thank you.
Sorry. Go
You
ahead.
guys can hear me now?
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, lots of different things we're seeing. So I thought maybe talk about some of the less obvious ones. Obviously, in all the markets globally, there's a push towards more clean energy capacity, wind, solar, storage, etc. So let's assume that's happening. I think some of the more interesting things we're looking at are around the retail side of electricity and energy. And I think we've seen in most of the competitive markets, so like Europe, Australia, and as of the last couple of years, Japan would be a very good example, a range of new entrants come into the energy supply business and starting to challenge the kind of existing and incumbent model. And what a lot of these new companies are doing are offering customers new ways to buy energy in what has really been a model that hasn't changed really since kind of the founding of the electricity system. And what's interesting about these players is because they're coming into the market completely fresh, they don't have a lot of the kind of legacy technologies and systems that the incumbents have, and it means they're actually able to move much faster than the kind of incumbent players and build new services at lower cost and kind of with less kind of customer friction than the incumbent. So that's a really interesting trend we've been looking at. It's something that hasn't yet occurred to the same extent in North America, which is obviously an enormous market, but for various kind of regulatory reasons hasn't really been there. So that's something we're watching to see if it will spread from Europe, Australia, Japan into the US. Another big trend we're watching is what's going to happen with the electricity grid. I think over the last, let's say, 20 years, a lot of the focus at a policy level and probably a technology level has been on decarbonizing sources of generation. So, how can we deploy as much wind and solar as possible? Now we know we also need to deploy storage to go alongside that as well. But to a large extent, the electricity grid has been overlooked, and how it deals with this kind of very significant change in the technologies that are connected to the grid is a challenge I think some people have been talking about for a while, but most people have not really recognized or had to deal with. And I think over the next 10 years, that's really going to be one of the main challenges we need to face. We already see that at a policy level in the EU, for example. A lot of the discussion now is about what is needed for the electricity grid rather than just how do we ensure more wind and solar is deployed. And there's also, as a result of that, a wide range of interesting projects and pilots that utilities are undertaking. And of course, there's a whole load of interesting technologies that startups are coming up with to try and make an electricity system that operates in a more flexible fashion and a grid that is able to deal with an increasingly complex environment. So I think those are probably two I would point out.
Awesome, thank you.
Great, thanks. And just to let you guys know, our footage looks like the person that is talking right now, but we are here. It's just that we are streaming it and we have to, for technical reasons, show the person that is talking right now. So the same question actually goes to all the other VCs and Challenergy as well. Any trends that you're seeing right now? James, pointed out his point of view really, really well, and I would like to ask anybody else to contribute if you have any. Otherwise, we'll go to the next question, and we're getting some questions from the audience as well.
Okay, shall I go next, Amanda, Dimitri?
Yes, please go ahead, Yamaguchi-san.
Okay, so thanks for the introduction, Amanda. It's not because I was with TEPCO for a long time, but I think that the Fukushima crisis has been a game changer, not only in the Japanese energy industry, but also globally as well. It was obviously a trigger for energy transition and transformation. Renewables started to increase, and all kinds of distributed energy resources began to pop up, and technology and digitalization is accelerating this transition. And if I talk about the Japanese market, the market was fully opened in 2016. And currently there are, I think, more than 600 competitive retailers in Japan, probably the most competitive market in the world. And there's going to be a similar market opened up next year. So I think in Japan, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for startups. And I think, as James mentioned, startups and the new entrants, I think they might even disrupt the incumbent utilities, including TEPCO, by sort of creating new business models outside of the legacy incumbent models. And I think they can be prevalent in the market in the next 5 or 10 years. That's it for now.
Great, thank you, Yamaguchi-san. Anything to be added by anybody else?
So Iwata-san or Mizumoto-san, would you have anything to add?
I mean, we have a bunch of questions coming in, so we can definitely.
I just pointed out that as in terms of our view as Challenergy, that the electric infrastructure needs to be resilient to the natural disaster, especially here in Japan, that we have experienced a lot of typhoons and also earthquakes. So those are the natural disasters happen in all over the world. So that's our Challenergy wind turbine is more resilient to typhoons. That's not only our technology, but also I think that those are the energy or technologies need to be resilient to all other kinds of the natural disasters. So it should be considered as a climate change accelerating more catastrophic disasters in the centuries. So that kind of technology should be invested in a lot of capitals. That's my point.
Thank you very much. So Iwata-san, would you have something to add? Go ahead.
Let me explain our position. So our global brain focus on smart city area. So currently the city model is very concerned with the energy, smart energy, and also, for example, bus or transport and mobility, and also to build environment or other kinds of that. So I totally agree with the three of them. But on the other hand, we need to think about the distribution rate of EVs, and also if we accept the BRE, like solar panel or wind power. So then we need to utilize EVs as the distributed energy system and also the energy storage system. So currently we are focusing on that area. And also in Japan, we are expecting for that kind of startups coming.
Thank you. Thank you all for answering.
They're saying that they cannot hear Iwata-san.
Iwata-san cannot be heard.
I could hear.
Oh,
Yeah,
some
I could hear
people
him.
can hear him, some people cannot.
Okay. I'm sorry. Well, sorry, this is our first time. Well, due to the timing, we need to move on with the questions, and we're getting from the community as well a couple of questions. But here's one that is kind of important to most of the startup entrepreneurs that are listening in right now, which is what type of startups are you basically investing? This is like a very common one, but if you could comment.
And what are you looking for as well?
Right.
Okay, shall I start?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay, so we have invested in more than 100 startups actually, mostly in Japan. And we have been investing in innovative companies like retailers, companies that are active in the areas of DER, VPP, demand response and aggregation, energy efficiency, and also grid optimization. And we also look at e-mobility space, just like Iwata-san mentioned, as well as smart cities and smart home, smart industries. And as I mentioned, we invest in companies in Japan, but as well as companies outside of Japan. And we are looking for companies who are able to sort of focus on the customer, understand customers' solutions, and that are able to sort of scale in the midterm. That's it for now.
Thank you. Does anyone else have something to add?
Sure. So I mean, yeah, somewhat similar areas. We kind of bucket the areas we invest in into six groups, which is intelligent operations, and that's technology for improving kind of the existing power system. Distributed energy, mobility is an incredibly important area. Cybersecurity also is really important for for utilities and others operating the power system and critical infrastructure. And then smart home plus smart buildings and cities. So those are kind of the broad areas we look at. But a couple of things that we've been focusing on recently that I think are particularly interesting, I'll highlight. So one is battery analytics software. We're finding that as both the growth of electric vehicles, but also the increasing use of stationary storage in the energy system, there's a real need for better data and software to understand the operations and performance of batteries. And there's a number of interesting startups we've seen who are kind of at a very early stage now, but we think have good development prospects, that are developing both tools for kind of collecting new data from batteries, for example, using ultrasound, but more importantly, software packages for analyzing that data. And that extends all the way from kind of the manufacturing stage, where you're building and designing a battery, up to the operational stage where it could be inside a vehicle. So that's a really important area. Another one is satellites and kind of geospatial data. So there's been a real incredible boom in the amount of satellites being launched and technology development there, and that has very wide applications to the energy system and climate, because the kind of declining costs of satellite data and imagery means that somebody can use that for a much wider range of applications. For example, trying to detect methane emissions from leaks and different infrastructure, being able to inspect assets, the utility zone, being able to look at kind of distributed wind or solar plants. And there's a real range of innovation there happening, both in the technology embedded within the satellites and how they're being launched, and then also software platforms that certain companies are developing that ingest a whole range of that data, run analysis on it, and then turn it into useful insights for the users. So those are two I'd mention as of particular interest for us.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's really interesting. Would Iwata-san have something to add?
Yeah, we summarize three main topics of these energy tech terms. One, I already introduced smart city. It's including energy for transport and mobility and mass, and also sharing economy service like that. Second term, smart energy. It's for example, to utilize AI to save the energy consumption of the factories, and also energy storage service or smart electric grid, or also including renewable energies power plants. And the last thing, so maybe it's a little bit different from the today's topic, but we focus on SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, set by the United Nations, and also circular economy fields. It's also we very focusing on, and we are looking for example, the energy for circular economy, and so just kind of that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So there is a question that the community has, but before that, I would like to ask everybody in the chat, because we have 87 people, to please turn off their video and audio, just so the software is focusing on the VC specifically. Thank you.
And the next question is, this is also from an audience member. So, is the energy sector? Oh, hold on. The energy sector is full of legal barriers for startups. So, can you tell about your experiences navigating the complex regulations in the energy sector? Who would like to start?
Very good question. Very good point. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes. It is true that traditionally energy sector has been full of regulations and rules, but one of the way is to sort of try to work with utilities and let the utilities take care of those regulatory issues. That's one way. And the other way is trying not to get involved with regulation. There are ways, there are business models where you're not regulated. So I think for a startup, if you could find that type of business model, there should be a lot of business models that is outside of regulation. So I think there are two ways to do that.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I mean, our fund was kind of specifically set up to tackle that problem, in that almost all of our investors are utilities and energy companies. And the idea behind that was that we can help the startups we invest in navigate the kind of regulatory challenges by working very directly with utilities in the sector who understand those laws and regulations in detail, how to navigate them, where there's opportunities to do something within the regulatory compliance. But I was just said, there's also a lot of opportunities outside of the regulated parts of the energy sector. And I think, a big piece of advice generally for startups working in this space is to really thoroughly understand, is the product and service they are providing something that needs to be provided through the regulated part of the energy sector, or does it bypass that, and have a very clear understanding of that from the beginning? Because we often see companies that think they're going to scale through kind of a competitive market that actually really rely on regulated players, and that always ends up being a challenge.
Yeah, as Yamaguchi mentioned, there are many examples, like, for example, data utilization, BPP, or peer-to-peer attraction of the solar panel, or so there are many examples. Sometimes I was asked by startup entrepreneurs to introduce to their friends or Ministry of Economy. So then some startups is struggling to make a good relation with government. So it's a kind of a good key to start a business in this country. Yeah. So it's very important.
Thank you. And does Mizumoto-san from Challenergy have something to add? Maybe you guys have had some experience with regulations as well.
Yeah, I think that our idea is more close to the Yamaguchi. what Yamaguchi-san mentioned, that we are working closely with utilities companies. Then also another approach is we are aiming that the market that which less regulatory than Japan, which is more on the developing countries. So it is more easier for us to have developed the field or more or try the more experimental technologies, not only our technology but also collaborating with other technology to achieve more easier to achieve the target or goals. That's my point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thanks. Just a quick comment. So Amanda is asking the questions, and I'm looking at the number of people that are actually in the chat in the Zoom meeting. 86, surprisingly well holding up. We've seen also a lot of questions, and the unfortunate part about all these kind of events is that we cannot have all the questions answered, unfortunately. But there's networking, obviously. So you'll be able to ask these questions there. So if yours isn't picked, then please hold on until the networking part, okay? Great, Amanda.
So for the next question, I'm not sure how many more questions we have time for, but this might be the last one, is why should foreign energy tech startups choose to enter Japan instead of some other larger markets? And what makes the Japanese market energy tech attractive? Who would like to start?
It's a difficult question.
So let me try. So as I mentioned to you, there's a lot of things going on in the Japanese market, especially the structural changes undergoing in the Japanese market, pretty similar to that of US or Europe. So I think there's basically opportunities in Japan for international startups. And of course, if EEI, our company, is able to invest, we will be happy to sort of provide advice in entering Japan and also make introductions to utilities. But of course, I must say that it is not an easy market. It's difficult working with incumbent utilities. There's cultural issues, there's language issues, communication issues. So it's not an easy market, but there is a lot of opportunities. I can assure you.
Yeah, I would say to me it's not the most obvious market for international startup to enter. I mean, I think there are certain areas, like a lot of European demand response and VPP companies have looked to Japan because of some of the reforms and pilot projects there. And some of them have had success, a lot of them have not. So I guess it depends on the opportunity, but I think generally it probably is quite a challenging market for the European or US company to enter without a pre-existing and quite strong partnership in place.
Yeah, sometimes I talked with, for example, European or East Asian startups. So they mentioned they are not interested in the Japanese market. So it's a pity, I think. But for example, our country is the third largest economy in all of the world. And in the current political situation, startups or any company should choose China or the USA. So then Japan will be the good market for them, I think.
Thank you. Mizumoto-san, would you have something to add?
Yes, I would like to comment on in terms of not only the market but for the environment for the manufacturing something, because we are like hard tech startup as need to be have a facility for manufacturing. So it's kind of good environment in Japan that we ask more manufacturing or tech company to help to build our own prototype, or also we can try and test our prototyping and also scaling up those technology into more concrete ideas. So that's kind of things that we like to be here in Japan.
Thank you. So now I think we're coming to the end of the panel discussion. So we would like to finish off with one last question. So to all of the panelists, what is your final message or kind of advice for the startup and tech community, especially in looking to enter the energy sector? It's a tough question.
I think I'd go back to what I started to touch on before, which is really understand which part of the energy sector you're targeting. Are you offering something that requires kind of the involvement of utilities and the incumbents? And if so, make sure you have a really detailed understanding of the regulatory environment in which you're going to be operating, and understand that that is likely going to mean your business is going to scale at a more limited pace, and therefore, structure your business and your fundraising and your capital efficiency in a way that makes sense for that. And if you're working outside of the regulated environment, then really stick to that, and don't suddenly find that you're looking to kind of work with more of the regulated players, because in many instances that's really going to kind of derail the opportunity that you're focusing on. So that would be the main advice.
Thank you. Final words from the others?
Okay, can I?
Go ahead.
You might have the impression that the energy industry is difficult and that the incumbents still have power, and that only maybe large companies can survive, or regulation could be complex. But please don't be afraid of the energy industry. I think the important thing is to try to focus on customers and people instead of focusing on technology. I find a tendency that companies usually focus too much on technology. I think you should focus on people and focus on solving the problem the customers are facing in the energy industry. Thank you.
Let me mention one thing. So in Japan or BC communities, we are studying for impact investing. Let me introduce it. So it's a kind of investment made into companies or organizations to generate beneficial social or environmental impact alongside financial return. So we don't seek not only financial return, but also, for example, environmental return or social return in developing countries. So that the capital market is now changing, and also for energy tech entrepreneurs, the situation will be changing. So good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And final words from Mizumoto-san before we go over to Challenergy's talk?
Yes, that's. I think we are not so much successful startup, I can say. So, but I will try to explain how we have done. Then we also what we are going to do in this market. So that's going to be show you some example, or try to encourage some more startups to coming into the market.
Okay. Awesome. Should we go over to Challenergy's talk then?
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome.
Great.
So thank you so much to the panelists. And now we're gonna have a presentation by Mizumoto-san from Challenergy, basically about the company's experiences and successes and learnings so far.
Right. 10 minutes of presentation followed by the 4 startups that are going to present, and then networking. So please give it up for Challenergy. Challenergy, you can share your screen, and we'll be right.
I will talk about our Challenergy's, our background in next 10 minutes. So my name is Shigeto Mizumoto from Challenergy Inc. I'm a CSO, Chief Strategy Officer of the company. I was working in Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. I was in charge of energy, generation plant in Asia countries. Then also I was working as an energy consultant, environment consultant, and international firm. Then also I joined Challenergy in 2016. Then that time I was fully in charge of sales and marketing of the technologies. So our mission is supplying safe electricity to all human beings through our innovation in the wind energy. So this the red product is our product called Magnus Vertical Access Wind Turbine. The guy next to the wind turbine is inventor and founder of this company, Mr. Atsushi Shimizu. He was like engineer in the company, but he was decided to dedicate his lifetime into this business after March 11, 2011, Fukushima nuclear accident. So this is our wind turbine. It's called Magnus Vertical Wind Turbine, which installed in Ishigaki in Okinawa Prefecture in Japan. So we have started our company in 2014. Then we made some prototypes from 100 watt to 1 kilowatt. Then now we installed our 10 kilowatt demonstration unit in 2018. So we have continued the field test from 2018 to 2019. Then now we are in the stage of commercializations. So we have kind of are developing our supply chains, commercial value chains, and to deliver to the customers. Then we have raised almost 10.6 million US dollar until now. Then our investors is more on institutional investors and also some VCs. So when I joined Challenergy, we are only 5 members, but in this 2020 we have almost 21 teams. Then also there are a variety of nationalities because we have like 6 or 7 different countries together to develop the technologies. So we also feature some medias and also the international medias, domestic medias. That's kind of our interesting to see how we have covered up the other medias in the world. And also we have appeared some of the international events like COP24, COP25, and G20 in last year. It's kind of, we represent Japanese tech startup in terms of environment and also energies. That's kind of interesting to see that the startups will change the world. So our competitiveness, our technology is like we kind of create innovation in wind turbine. Why? Because conventional wind turbine is like low reliability, noise, and bird strike or collision is kind of problematic for us. So that's our innovation is we use the Magnus effect, which principle of the curve. So we rotate the cylinders in corresponding to the wind speed. So we control the rotation of the turbine in any wind speed. That's kind of innovative ideas. So then we also utilize the vertical axis type of vertical axis, so we can corresponding any wind directions. So the combination of this technology, which is the field we are trying right now. So we are the only one to pursue this area. So the most significant benefit of this technology is that we can generate power up to a higher wind speed compared to the conventional wind turbine. So I mentioned that in Japan, we have a lot of our experience with a lot of typhoons in a year. So those high resilience and also the high capability of the generating the wind, high wind speed is more competitive than other technologies. So our target, as you may know, that we have experienced a lot of typhoons, hurricanes, cyclones, or more we can say extreme natural disaster in past few years. So our technology address those challenges or those calamities in the world. So the first application is like we provide power and also the communication in those in the calamities. This kind of combination of our turbine and satellite communications. So those are our technology can powering up those facilities even in the emergency times. So this is terms of like more on climate change adaptations issues. Then also we are aiming to go beyond the grid. This is more on we are highly targeting on renewable microgrid systems. So this idea is we are combining with not only our wind turbine but also the solar powers, storage systems, and also more on electric vehicles to manage those microgrid, which is more isolated from the main grid. So we are targeting to have our first demonstration project in the Philippines this year and next year. That's going to be our first cases in the Philippines. And also we are targeting some of the island communities or islands in Japan. So we are now commercializing 10 kilowatt. That's kind of small scale wind turbine. But in 2025, we are aiming to achieve 100 kilowatt. Then also we are achieving 1 megawatt by 2030. Since the conventional wind turbine took almost 120 years to scaling up their technology, but we can achieve it by 10 years. That's kind of innovations that we are trying to do that. Then also we are not only the manufacturer of the wind turbine, but we provide the energy to all human beings. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Challenergy. For the long-awaited startups that are pitching today, we would like to welcome our first startup, AC Biode. And if you have any questions for Challenergy, they will have their own room, a Google Hangout room that you can join starting at 8:20. All of the startups will have their own, and you will be able to ask them all the questions that you have, all right? Great. Then please welcome AC Biode. And please share your screen. Just to give us 10 seconds to get to you.
Can you see my screen? I just shared. Can you see my screen?
All right. Yes.
Hi. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Please go ahead.
Okay, good. Yeah. Let's start. So hi, I'm Tadashi Kubo from AC Bio. We have a catalyst to tackle plastic waste in the ocean. So as you know, ocean plastic waste is one of the biggest challenges, including airlines and different places. And there are three methods to recycle plastic waste: material, thermal, and chemical recycling that we propose today. And each method has pros and cons. But when it comes to actual or the waste, such as organic and plastic waste, they are mixed, multi-layered, and dirty. And it's quite difficult to recycle, especially from ocean plastic waste. But if we bring them to incinerators or landfills, that will be along with dioxin, greenhouse gas emission, tar, as well as high capex and opex, because that require high temperature, such as 1,000 degrees Celsius or more. So we propose chemical recycling that can recycle the most difficult recycled plastic waste and then turn them into biofuels, biocarbon, or virgin plastic materials, rather than sending them all the way to incinerators or landfills. So we have two different types of catalysts. The first one that Kasumi renamed, that's the carbonization catalyst. That is to carbonize organic waste mixed with plastic on-site at a lower temperature than the current systems. But we have already commercialized. we have already sold one food company in Japan and want to expand this catalyst around Japan and the world. The other is that Plastalyst, we are still under R&D. That is to decompose plastic waste into monomer, such as PET. In the long run, we want to tackle polypropylene or polyethylene, so which is more difficult. We already have machines that can accept up to 24 tons per day. It's continuous type, and the size is adjustable depending on the client needs. So advantages we have are four. The first is, as I mentioned, a decentralized solution. So for example, in islands, off-grid area, or even like within the commercial building, that we can recycle plastic waste and organic waste. So clients can save waste treatment cost, tipping fees to waste management companies. And we can also save energy cost around 50% because of the reaction is lower temperature than current catalyst or the other solutions. Reaction itself is zero greenhouse gas emission and zero dioxin, so it's a eco-friendly solution. And last but not least, the clients can sell the carbon generated from the waste to chemical traders or some other as a biomass for these applications, such as bioplastics or for several industrial products. The market is growing. Our company is already based in Europe, in Luxembourg, and in Japan, and want to tackle both markets, which is growing, will be $19 billion US by 2026. Our business model is that like an Nespresso business model. So it's meaning that we manufacture and sell machines and catalysts, but the catalysts are consumable, like coffee, Nespresso coffee, which that clients will have a subscription model. The clients are B2B, so waste management, real estate, hotels, municipalities, resorts, village or farms, and agriculture and so on, which generate organic waste and plastic waste. So traction we have so far, we have started since December 2018, and we are ready to sell the catalyst machine. We already got several LOIs from these clients in Japan, also in Europe. Unfortunately, negotiations have been slowing down because of COVID-19, but we get great feedback. And to develop further, we are now collaborating with Osaka University on Zeolite. And we got awarded several competitions and accelerator programs, such as Think Beyond Plastic in the US, Impulse Foundation in Switzerland, in Cambridge University, and in Germany, and so on. So last slide, we have 5 members. I myself used to invest in renewable energy, petrochemical industry. We have 3 engineers, Dr. Atsushi, expert on material science. Robert is also a current PhD student in engineering, Farah as well. And Professor Nishiyama is one of the best experts on zeolite that we going to use to improve our efficiency of catalyst of our future generation to tackle plastic waste. So this is almost time. Here's my contact. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. And we cannot hear the applause, but from us.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if you can please stop sharing your screen, and then we will have the investors ask any questions. We are accepting any comments on Facebook, YouTube, and on Zoom as well. So please go ahead. Any questions? We're coming back live.
Yeah, what are some partnerships you're developing or have in place as you scale the business?
Yes, so we have OEMs partners in Japan that they make machines and catalysts on behalf of us. So we are a fabless company. We are also collaborating with Osaka University on our future catalyst that is more efficient than the current ones.
And which kind of segment of recycling do you think is the best near-term opportunity for you?
Best clients will be waste management companies, but also
food industry, such as food factories, canteens, or restaurants, hotels, that generate quite a lot of waste, including airlines. And these wastes are often mixed with plastics. So that's our best targeted clients that we want to tackle.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Carl, please go ahead. This is an audience member, but yeah, it's an improv too.
Yeah. So, Carl Brewer here from Carlstone Capital. We are a VC and a pre-seed investor, and we are seed funding investor too as well. And we focus on energy and waste to energy market. So my question is to you is how much inroad and how much inroads and understanding your business model and your value proposition that you're offering right now. So how much attention are you paying towards the waste to energy market? Because we know that is a growing market, especially in the US, also in Africa as well, where we invest in. But I just want to hear, based on what I've been listening to and understanding, is that, for instance, from a technology and a system perspective, from an operational process perspective, how much attention are you paying towards that? Because there's a potential interest in that whole market where we're focusing on now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Actually, at my previous company, I used to invest in waste to energy market as IPP. So we have been paying attention on that as well, and we don't deny about the value of waste to energy and pyrolysis.
Sure. And are you just focused? Yes. And is it just when we say waste to energy? Obviously, there are two areas that we focus on. We look at food waste. We also look at agricultural waste as well. Could you provide me like a more detailed and specific breakdown of what the value proposition is in your business model?
Yeah, sure.
Particular sectors.
Thanks.
So our differentiations against waste to energy are we can do on-site and also lower temperature and lower capex and opex.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's okay.
Thanks.
For now. I'll reach out.
Thank you. Thanks, Carl, and thanks for the question. We will try to get the questions from the chat. Carl was asking basically the question in the chat, but before we had the time to read, he jumped in, which is great. Cool.
Thank you.
Yep. So we are running out of time, so let's jump into our next presentation. Thank you very much, AC Biode.
Oh, thank you.
So our next presenter is going to be SolarDuck. So please share.
My name is Olaf Zwart, and I'm one of the co-founders of SolarDuck. And SolarDuck has the vision that the entire planet should be powered by renewable energy. My background is aerospace engineering. I graduated in the whole center on solar energy, flexible solar energy, but I graduated during 2008 when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. So I decided to work for a maritime company, Damen Shipyards. And during this time, we got the idea to combine maritime technology with solar technology, and we started in the beginning of last year the company SolarDuck. So if we look at the global trends, we see world population, urbanization, global energy demand all increasing. And even though a lot of renewable energy plants are being installed, greenhouse gas emissions are still rising every year. So there's a growing need to even more sustainable energy. However, there's a big problem. There's a lack of dry land available. It's shared with energy, with living, with food. And near the cities where actually the demand is, the space is very limited or very expensive. And what we see more and more actually that deforestation is taking place just to place renewable energy plants. So if we look at where all this population is located, then we can see that actually most of these big cities are located next to the sea. And most of this population is located in an area of plus minus 35 degrees latitude, which is actually very sun-rich, but wind scarce. And therefore, Solardark believes that providing solar power on the sea is the solution to these problems. So the past few years, Solardark has been working on a nearshore platform, and which doesn't use valuable land, is resistant to offshore conditions, and is cost competitive even with inland floating solutions. It's standardized and modularized, and we can build it on site, so it's the local content is also guaranteed. And what you see here is not the final design, but we're currently in some patent applications for our technology. So if we look at the market potential, it's really huge. Between 25 and 40% of the total market in 2050 is expected to be generated by solar PV. And the inland floating solar potential was estimated by World Bank between 400 and 4,000 gigawatts. But the offshore market is even considerably bigger than that. So we approach the market with three ways: platform, plant, and electricity sales, and this really depends on the market. Some markets just like to be supplied electricity, and in some cases we will just supply the platforms. And we check the investor rate of return in different markets, and in all these markets at least 6 to 8% rate of return is possible. So I'm actually normally living in Japan, and there we're talking to some companies about the use of our platforms for floating solar installations. But what we're really working on at the moment is setting up a consortium for a prototype plant, which is 50 to 100 kilowatt in the Netherlands. We also signed a letter of intent for a first commercial plant in the Netherlands, and we're discussing about an offshore location, an offshore test location in Belgium. And also across the globe, we've been talking to multiple parties, and actually some discussions are already quite advanced. If you look at the competition, we have inland competition, but what we see is there that these systems are not able to survive the high wind speeds or high waves. If you look at the offshore competition, we see that they're all in a very early stage, and typically this prototyping or pre-commercial. So on the left side, we see the solar-focused companies, which are inland, but these are not able to survive the high waves and high wind speeds. If we look at the maritime companies, we actually see that they lack a bit of solar focus. And that's where Solardark comes in, to combine the best of the solar and maritime technologies. So we do this with a very elaborate team of experts. At the moment, we already have 6 people with different backgrounds, over 70 years of experience. We have 2 world records holders in our team and 2 cum laude graduates, so it's a very strong team. So what we accomplished, we were granted EU subsidy, and actually yesterday we heard we won another subsidy. Also we were granted Blue Invest support for startups, and we were one of the winners of the rocket pitch session in Tokyo. So for financials, from an investment perspective, we're investment ready level 6 to 7. We've been bootstrapped so far, but we do have already some support in case of from the grants and the subsidies. And what we're looking for now is really for capital to finish the prototyping and commercialization phase. So this is about 500,000 euros we're looking for. So if are funny questions, please ask us in the networking session later. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks very much. Any questions from the VCs?
Yeah, so what's you said it was cost competitive, but what's the LCOE today? I mean, I assume it'll be high because you're early stage, but what are you targeting? Where will the cost reductions come from?
Yeah, so we're targeting an LCOE between 5 and 10 cents per kilowatt hour.
Okay. And what do you expect the capacity factor to be?
Well, same as typical ground-mounted plants, though we generate more electricity because of water cooling. So this generates about 5 to 10% And in some cases, it can be even more than that, additional electricity.
And the 5 to 10 cents, what's the target date for that?
Well, so we plan to actually have a commercialized version of our system is available from next year. So I would say 2022 we're really planning to scale up. So we should be able to achieve that.
And what do you think about the cost of grid connections? Because I'm just thinking, I mean, so the cost, the 5 to 10 cents will be higher than a lot of ground-mounted solar, but let's say that will come down over time. But a grid connection out at sea is obviously a more complex
yeah, well,
structure.
That's an interesting question actually, because if you, for instance, compare us with offshore wind, we have a lot of advantages there because we don't have to be located far offshore to have the best wind resources. So we can be relatively close to shore. Actually, in Japan, we're discussing about a project where we actually combine offshore solar with offshore wind so that we can actually share the grid connection.
Right.
So there are multiple ways, but indeed, well, on land, of course, typically also people build solar power plants where a grid connection is. So that's also the target.
Right. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the other VCs want to add anything? If not, we are slightly running out of time, so we will have to go to the next presentation. As said before, the people that are asking the questions on YouTube and Facebook, if we don't get to them, then we will have all the startups in their own respective rooms, and you can join them and ask them direct questions or connect with them, right? So please just take a note of which startup it is and what their name is so that you know which room to join. Right, thank you very much. On to our next startup, which is Blink Energy. So Blink Energy, if you can share your screen. Loud and clear. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I am Mustafa, the co-founder of Blink. We prevent ice load on power lines and save millions of dollars. Playtron was born during a chat with my friends, seeking a solution to the icing problem on power lines. A friend of ours working electricity company told us about the problem. He described that 20 poles were down due to ice load problem, and dozens of people are repairing them. Ice load problem on power lines creates snaps, cost millions of dollars for energy distribution companies. Also, linemen are dying in every winter trying to fix power lines. This is a worldwide problem, and companies are currently using super expensive or super archaic method to solve problem, like the roller technique, which is very expensive. But in Nordic countries, they must clean their lines in every 2 or 3 days.
Mustafa, I think you're sharing the wrong screen. We can see your notes, and the slide is very small.
Thank you, James. I was about to mention. Yes, if you can go into full screen mode would be great.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yes. Go ahead.
I am sorry.
No problem.
Yes. Here another method. It is so primitive method, and more than 90% of the world is using this method. It's unbelievable. Here our solution, Plectron. It is simple but effective. Here another video of version 2. Plectron generates its power from magnetic field of the line. This is the most innovative part of our device. Plectron doesn't need any charger or battery. Plectron has some sensors to detect ice. Finally, Plectron vibrates the line periodically. Current solutions are focused on clearing the line, but Plectron protects the line. Current devices need battery changing. Plectron charges itself from magnetic field of the line. Most important,
There is no human factor, so nobody can get injured. Our business model is simple. We sell 30 devices per kilometer line. The price covering in 80 kilometer area is about 1 million euros. This is an actual pricing negotiation we are having with a Nordic energy distribution company. Remember the first video? It is roller method. Our solution is cost less than 20% of the roller methods. Here another method that used in China and Japan. Our cost is nearly less than 1/3 of the DC and short circuit methods. In this winter, we performed POC with 3 energy distribution companies. We tested 25 devices in 7 different places. In 200-meter test line, no line were lost, where Plectron was installed. But a line completely collapsed that was only 100 meters away from the Plectron line. On the top of cost and effectiveness issues, energy distribution companies don't collect new oil, which is data from their lines. This data can be further used to make critical business decisions and reduce costs even further. With our new version 2, we will also a different data subscription business model. We will collect real-time data, analyze and process it to help companies make better business decisions and increase profitability by extending the asset life of the power lines. We are experienced team working together for 5 years. We sold our previous hardware company to a large electronic company. We added very experienced marketing and product executive with a strong advisory board to execute our vision to solve ISDOA challenge. This is our achievement in the past 9 months. Sorry. Because of these achievements, we met lots of customers from all around the world. For example, Vattenfall, a Swedish state-owned company, will try our devices in this winter in the North Pole. We raised 200K from investor and first customer. We are raising to 750K to increase marketing and paid POC acquisitions. We are estimating to have $1 million of revenue in third quarter 2021. Plectron is not just a device. It's a platform for energy distribution companies' needs. Thank you.
Great, within 5 minutes. Thank you so much. On to any questions.
What's the total addressable market for this?
Sorry, I cannot understand.
The question was, what is
the size of the market?
Yes.
What size?
The size of the market that you are addressing.
We only calculate the US markets. It's about $1.5 billion because their lines are very old, so they have to clean their lines and they have to put our devices in the line for extended asset life of the power lines.
Cool. Any more questions? Iwata-san, Yamaguchi-san, if you have any questions, shout them out.
Thank you for the presentation. So the simple way is the best way, I think. So the similar question. So could you tell us how to distribute your system to power company? So tell us the sales and marketing strategy.
Actually, we use one-to-one marketing strategy. We say that we have a solution for your problem. Could you try our device? Then they try, so they want to buy our device. It's something like that.
Great. Thank you very much. For the interest of time for the networking, we will have to keep things short, but if you have any questions, obviously, please reach out in the hangout room, that they will be waiting. Thank you so much. On to our last presentation, thank you, which is going to be Smart Panel. So Smart Panel, please take it away.
Hello everybody, can you see the full screen? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay. So good evening everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Adrien Pichon. I'm the guy in charge of business and industry for the Smart Panel company. Together we will speak about energy, green tech, and construction materials. But even if we are far apart today, I will make it as much interactive as possible. So first thing first, did you know that by charging the laptop you are at this moment using to see me, we have actually produced enough electricity to charge it 2.5 times. This difference between final energy used and what we call primary energy is due to the consecutive losses incurred in the production, the transformation, and the transportation phase. Now, that you look at your bill with a constant eye, consider the energy lost to fabricate construction materials. Those very materials that are in fact accounting for 40% of the planet's resources that we use every year. Construction materials already have a huge impact on our energy bill and CO2 emissions. Just look at aluminium, an alloy that can be recycled almost indefinitely. That's great, but look at the energy costs. Even so, let's assume that energy has been properly used to create state-of-the-art construction materials. To what end? Create buildings that are so well insulated, so efficient, that we need more electricity to have them cooled, heated, or simply for air circulation. So is this efficiency? Depending on where we are, look outside just now. Maybe you will see a tree. It's a bit dark, but anyway. Have you seen in nature any organism that lives by isolating itself from its environment? Look at any growing things. A leaf, an insect, a plant, your kids. Nature consumes a lot of energy in order to create more energy. It's a transformation process, very much balanced and decentralized. Inside our body, everything interacts to keep the whole system running. Now, just look at your hands. Now, look at your skin. The skin is the key to our regulation system. Even if sometimes it needs some help, it has a good specific set of components that make it very interesting to look at closely. So let's go closer together. The skin has 3 layers which help to regulate and protect us. The outside temperature and atmosphere exposition could be -50 to +50 degrees Celsius. The skin will participate to keep our organs at 36 to 37 degrees. That is really amazing. So why do we stick to this when it comes to building? Okay, but I think now you see me coming. At Smart Panel Company, we have reverse engineered the skin to apply it at a building size using biomimicry. So how do we do it? First, take a network of fluids that channels on the entire surface of a panel. Then, add a thermal and electricity power generation grid. And finally, sprinkle sensors all over the top. The result is a smart panel that is plug and play, easily mounted, and connected to each other over the surface of the building to create a skin that interacts with the outside to protect the inside. From the panel's active fluids, we capture and exchange the heat and cool with internal layers of the building, so the temperature can be stabilized on and between floors. Panels participate together to a joint sensing big data of the entire facade and produce energy, where the sun is heating or reflected by other buildings. Today, we tend to limit the energy production on roofs, but studies show that houses or building entire facades can produce more than what it consumes all the year around by addressing different kinds of energy production. On the left side of the graph is the resource available, and on the right side is what we use today. To wrap up, we are developing a smart panel system that can fit any facade and help make houses or building energy sustainable. A new skin that does not yet exist on the market and which I assure you will be highly sought after architects all around the world as a key element of the mix to comply to already existing regulations. Our team is led by Mr. Albert Abut, an expert in environmental architecture. He is with me tonight to reply to your questions. Also, we have gathered specialists with existing capacities to make our product a reality. For those interested to be part of the adventure, we are actually looking for fundings as well as industrial partners for the manufacturing phase. For more detail, join us on our video room just after the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. So do we have any comments or questions from our VCs? James,
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's very interesting. So, how long do you estimate to complete this R&D? So, I suppose before POC, so then how
yes,
do you,
we have a plan today with partners that is going over about 30 months of development, including all the phases until industrialization.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions? Because this is basically the last presentation before we get into networking. If you guys want to ask the company obviously directly, you can get right into their rooms. Any questions from the VCs, final ones? No? All right, thank you very much. Your presentation was very entertaining, and I wish we can all laugh and clap, but you don't hear our feedback, so thanks so much for joining us.
Very much. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So, the way it's going to work with the networking part, second part of the whole event, we tried to make it as non-chaotic as possible. Let us switch real quickly to our faces. Okay, you can finally see us. Yay, we're still here. So, we are going to split up into 5 different rooms. I believe Amanda already pasted the link to the rooms. The startups, please get into your own rooms, and you can start mingling with people or answering people's questions. Present anything else that you might have had. We have interviewed you, and we remember that you had extra slides in the back as well. So please share them if you have any. Also, if you want to reach out to the startups directly and don't have their contact info, etc., you can always reach out to us and we'll be able to share it with you. Final remarks on my side. Well, first of all, there are still 73 people here, which is amazing, and people actually did not interrupt, which is awesome. I really appreciate that. Real quickly, before we get into the networking, Amanda, you would like to share something from your end, correct?
Yes. And thank you again for everyone for joining and being so patient with us despite our technical difficulties. And again, I'd just like to say, if you're interested in partnering or being a speaker or volunteering or joining the team, please do reach out to us. You can reach out to us on Facebook or LinkedIn or PTix, or email us at energy.tech.meets@gmail.com. And we do have events coming up. And one more thing, we're also looking for organizers around the world. So, we're based in Tokyo, but we're also based in Vienna, we're based in Berlin, and so on. And we also have, so if you would like to be an organizer, please reach out to us. And we also have events coming up, so please follow us on any of our social media. And we have one event next month, which is not published yet, and this will be about kind of how tech giants are working on energy sustainability. And in September, for example, we're going to have an event focused on solar power. So yeah, please follow us, and thank you again.
Thank you. And a final word from Tokyo Tech Startups as well. Thanks very much to all the familiar faces that were out there. I've seen in the member group how many people are there that are supporting our cause, so thank you. If you're interested in pitching, basically what we do is we allow people to pitch online and offline to different investors and industry experts. You can read this QR code or go onto the Meetup page or the Facebook page and just fill out this one form that is there. You choose the event that you want to pitch at. Obviously we can't fulfill everybody's demand, but there's some amazing mentors as well in our community, so please be part of it. Finally, we have upcoming events. In 3 weeks, on July 16th, we're going to have an AI-focused pitch night, which already has more registrations for some reason than this event. And also, we will have a generic July 30th startup pitch event, which is going to be hosted online. We will see if the coronavirus settles down. We might be able to join the digital community with the community here offline. With all that said, thank you very much. Let's get into general networking, and we hope that you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you guys.